field. But what we lack in proximity, we make up for in film study. And each and every week, we'll be bringing you in-depth film breakdowns from across the pond and the Sooner State. Welcome to On the Shane page. I'm your host, Shane Haff. You can follow me on Twitter at ShaneHaffNFL. I'm joined, as always, by BGN's own film guru. Give him a follow on Twitter at JohnnyPage9. Johnny, how you doing this morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time it is for you there?
Wow, we're out of sync with the intro. Delete it and start again. No, you've got to leave bad intros in. It's most definitely evening. Why do you hate the Eagles, Shane? That's all I want to know. You come out your shell, don't tweet for a while, say that apparently Brian Dable, who quite openly chose the Tennessee Titans over us, means you hate everyone and don't trust anyone. So defend yourself, sir. How dare you say such outrageous things online.
Yeah, that was a good reminder of why we have a Patreon to talk football in. Because I tweeted something when it became pretty apparent that Dable was going to be taking the Titans job about the Eagles should really dig into why that's the case, why he chose the Titans over them. And I sparked a firestorm, apparently, of people like, you don't have the information, you're emotionally overreacting. And it's like, I mean, I feel like it's a pretty measured take to say the guy you wanted chose someone else. You should try to figure out why. I didn't feel like that was overreacting.
No, it
but,
doesn't feel it, does it? Yeah, should we start? We're going to do a little bit of free agency today, as you can tell from the title of the show. If you can tell from the title of the show. What even is the title of the show? Free agency overview, yeah. But should we do a little quick OC talk? So I've been doing this on Patreon. So if you're not on Patreon, I've been doing like a little OC update. I haven't updated it for a while, but I knew there was going to get comments from people, maybe some that aren't on Patreon. So the boring answer is, if you want the long take, go and join Patreon, because I've been doing some video updates on the OC. But in terms of like overall takes, like let's just talk big picture very quickly. None of us know who's going to be good, right? Even if you hire like a Sean McVay understudy, like no one knows anything. But obviously you can minimize risk. You minimize risk if a guy has got a good track record. You minimize risk if you hire a guy who's actually called plays before. So I like the idea of the Bears OC. He's never called plays before, but I got quite enamored by him because I like the idea he worked under Ben Johnson. I think my own personal take is that I'm okay taking a bit of a swing and like sort of a dart throw, because there's a part of me that goes, well, if it all goes wrong, Sirianni goes, he goes next year, we blow it all up and start again anyway. I just don't want like the boring guy that we know is a 6 out of 10, that we've seen be a 6 out of 10. I think if the Eagles offense was like still the best offense in the world talent-wise, I could accept like a 6 out of 10 coordinator, but I'd almost rather swing for the fences. So yes, this is a Matt Nagy tweet or statement, should I say. So like someone probably do like Mannion or Tanner from the Jets. Yeah, for everything I've read, I really like the Jets guy, because Jets fans seem to really like him despite the fact their offense sucked, which is always a good sign. And like, what am I supposed to say about Sean Mannion? Like, there's just no obviously record of him being successful as an OC in the slightest. So I'd love it. Like, he's worked under some really good QBs. He's been under some really good OCs as a QB. He's coached Jordan Love well this year. From what we've seen, like, everyone speaks highly of him. Packers fans love him. But if you want me to have like a great statement, I don't know. He doesn't call plays. LaFleur calls plays. And he's a really good head coach who's probably got a huge involvement in the offense. So anyone that like says like statement things like, oh yes, this guy will be good, I'm like, let's all calm down. And I'm happy to let this thing play out for now. But yeah, I would rather not a retread. Give me something a little bit more interesting than someone who's been there and is proven to be mediocre. But then again, there's an argument that the Eagles need some semblance of stability, and at least someone like Nagy, whether I love the hire or not, will at least make the operation watchable, which it wasn't last year. I think the positive thing is they can't get worse. Doesn't mean they can't statistically get worse, but I mean, from an operation design point of view, they cannot get worse. And I know that sounds like a bold statement, but I genuinely think it is impossible. there is no worse. There is no operation that exists. I'm not talking about yards and touchdowns. That can get worse. I'm talking about operationally, the way they're like set up. It can't. It really can't.
I was going to say in before Lane Johnson retires, AJ Brown gets traded for peanuts,
Yeah,
and
but that's what I
Landon
mean. That's a stat.
and Landon
That's not a
Dickerson
business.
just never recovers. And next year the offense is better operationally, but it's a
That's
total disaster.
Yeah, they're rubbish, but they're operationally really good. So yeah, have you got any big OC takes? Anything you disagree with? Do you want more stability than me? Are you a Jim Bob Cooter man, Shane, or are you just waiting and seeing?
I'm just gonna wait and see. Like nothing drives me crazier than doing work for no reason. Like I'm not gonna go deep dive film on Jim Bob Cooter and then him go somewhere else and go deep dive film on 18 other guys that don't get hired. That's part of what like in free agency and stuff. Like I'm not gonna go watch all of these guys that are rumored on the market linked to the Eagles. When they go sign somebody, I'll go watch them. And that's kind of how I feel about OCs. Like I had some preferences for OC and those guys are all gone. I do think the Eagles should take a look in the mirror and figure out why they're not a preferential destination for OC. And I'm not trying to insinuate anything about Jalen Hurts or about Nick Sirianni or about Howie or about anybody. I'm just saying they're clearly not a coveted landing spot. And so I would want to know organizationally why that is. Matt Nagy would be a really disappointing hire. But what I said in the Discord is I would be disappointed with that hire. But if they hire him, I'm immediately going to say, okay, it's better than Kevin Patullo. So it sort of feels like anybody is an upgrade over last year. So there's at least that. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I'm exhausted by the O-line discourse or the OC discourse and the inability to even comment on it publicly without getting blasted about things. So that's why I hang out in the Discord most days now.
And I think, like, as you made a really good point at the start, like, we don't know everything. We're just reading the tea leaves like everyone else is. It seems pretty clear to me that they wanted Mike McDaniels and they wanted Brian Daboll. Then I don't know how true the Daboll one is, but the McDaniel one seems very clear, and it seems very clear to me that Mike McDaniel chose to go to the Chargers over the Eagles, and there might be a very good reason for that, because a lot of guys think Justin Herbert is the most talented QB in the league, so I'm not here to say anything about that. And I think there's also an argument that from what we've read, that Daboll chose the Titans over the Eagles, and I just think as an operation, as a team that won a Super Bowl last year, that seems to basically get all their OCs promoted if they're any good to a head coach, a team that has Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, Devontae Smith, maybe AJ Brown, and I like maybe not, but still Devontae Smith, and still the chance to keep AJ Brown. The fact that they would rather go, do you know what? Maybe my chance is going to be better going to the Tennessee Titans, who have basically been a train wreck for God knows how long, is just, I think it's just something like to think about as a franchise. I hope Jeffrey Lurie and Harry Roseman are sitting there thinking, are we missing something here? Why is it that from what we read, again, just speculating, some of these guys that maybe the guys they wanted are not wanting to coach here next year? And I think we all know why. But I think it's just worth, as you said, it's not being critical. Christ, sure, man, you could be better than Brian Daboll. He could be. Like, we don't know. We have no idea. But the way that it's been handled doesn't seem like they're a very attractive destination, which for a team that have won 2 Super Bowls in, 8 years or whatever, and I think they're run by an owner as well as anyone and a general manager that everyone wants. I just think it's worth pointing out, like, why isn't the Eagles as attractive? And I think Brett Eclipse is spot on. McDaniels going to LA is not crazy. I agree. California,
If I was
whatever.
McDaniels, I would have chosen LA over the Eagles.
Fine. The Daboll one is one where I think you've got to really look hard in the mirror. And I know Cam Ward's an interesting guy because he's the first overall pick, but we're talking the Titans here. The Eagles is about as guaranteed of it you can get a head coaching job if you're Brian Daboll, if you make the offense good. Like, it's yours. And he's decided no. And I think they really, really ought to look at why that is.
And there is an element of they're casting a wide net, which is what you should absolutely do every single time you have an opening, because it's a chance to pick the brains of other guys about solutions to problems in your offense, innovation. Like, that's part of why the Kevin Patullo thing aside, even if they knew they were going to hire him, it was a missed opportunity last year not to interview guys from outside the building and get those ideas. Like, that's a pretty well established thing. And maybe they're casting a wide net and somebody that's not available yet has always been their guy. It's not Kubiak. He's going to be a head coach, but Thomas Brown, there's been talk about him. Maybe he's their guy and they're just biding time until he's available and they're interviewing other guys. So who knows? That's the thing. You can't know on all of that. And I want to talk about things that I can know. And so I want to talk about an OC after we hire them and I get to go dig into their stuff.
Yes, we are going to hit the OC stuff hard on Patreon when it's out as well. Right, should we get into free agency? Let's do this.
Yep.
Seeing as we have no OC, I was planning on doing the OC stuff first, and then we'll get into free agency afterwards, but nothing's happening on the OC yet, so let's get into something else.
Yeah, so we are going to go through all of the Eagles' pending free agents, and we're basically going to say how we would handle that person and then make a prediction of if they will stay or go on the roster. And for the players that it is available, I have pulled the Spot Track market value estimation. We also got Eagles Eric's market valuation, which last offseason was really on point with a lot of the contracts he was tweeting out. There is a pretty big gap between a lot of these, between Spot Track and Eric. So Eric's numbers are all higher. And so we'll kind of shout those out.
Eric's is based on what the cap will be as well, and it's also very early, isn't it, for Eric in terms of looking at percentages and stuff. But it's a nice little metric to see what could happen as well.
Yeah. So we're just going to run down this list. There are, I believe, 20 free agents. We'll just go from the most expensive to the least expensive. So the first guy up is Dallas Goedert. He's 31 years old, coming off of a contract where he made $10 million average annual value. All the numbers I'm going to give are average annual value, by the way. So 31 years old, coming off a $10 million contract. Spot Track values him at $6 million a year. Eric put it at $18 million a year. This is the widest gap that we have between any of them. The Dallas Goedert conversation.
$6 million a year, Spot Track.
Yeah,
feels incredibly light.
Yeah.
There's no way Goddard's getting only $6 million a year, is there? Am I going mad? Sorry, I hadn't seen the Spot Track numbers. I saw you posted them, but I'm like, am I missing something? That wouldn't be like... No, there's no way. That's like less... there's no way he's getting that. He's getting way more than that, sorry. That's not even like Cole commit money.
I think that's way low, personally.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think Eric's number is closer here. That would be the number 3 tight end in the NFL, by the way, that $18 million average annual value.
8 would be like 15th or something.
Yeah.
Below Evan Ingram, Jonny Smith, Pat Frymuth, Taysom Hill.
Yeah, the Taysom Hill thing, you'll never convince me Taysom Hill is not a money laundering scheme, but that was Sean Payton's money laundering scheme.
Taysom Hill is awesome.
Yeah, but so Dallas Goedert, he's obviously a really big piece here because we all know where the Eagles are at tight end wise isn't great. Behind him, you have Grant Calcaterra, who's also a pending free agent, and then you have basically no one, Cameron Latu, maybe. So because Kylan Granson also a free agent, so. Dallas Goedert, Johnny, what are your thoughts about bringing him back? How should the Eagles approach this?
Yeah, Dallas Goedert had like the weirdest year ever. Like 591 yards, 11 TDs or whatever. I don't think he played very well all season long, but he was extremely efficient in the red zone and they heavily targeted him. But I don't think he played well as a receiver. I don't think he played that well as a blocker. I think effort was questionable. I'm like really mixed where tight end's a hard position to draft. So the idea that he was going to draft someone and replace him is nearly impossible. I want an upgrade. I openly want an upgrade, but it's going to be hard to do. So he's probably one of my hardest ones. Like, I really don't know where I stand. He didn't play like a man that wanted to be back desperately this year to me, in all honesty. And I think some teams are going to look at his name brand and see the idea that he has scored 11 touchdowns and be like, wow, this guy is like an absolute stud. And I think someone's going to pay him very high. But they have no one under contract. They haven't got a young guy they've developed. Calcaterra went all wrong, obviously. So it's not like you can just get rid of him and then promote the next guy up. So I think it's really difficult. My gut tells me no, and I don't really want him back, which sounds weird for a guy who had 11 touchdowns, and I might regret it massively. But I'm not entirely sure. But the blocking was a real issue for me.
Yeah. Yeah, Brett Eclipse said Goddard lost his blocking ability. When you lose that, your value goes down drastically. I don't think you lose blocking ability. I think there were some effort things in layered over all of that. But if we're just going to use Eric's number, there's no way I'm paying him $18 million next year. I'm not making him a top 5 paid tight end at this juncture of his career. Given his injury history, his availability, his regression as a blocker this year, whether that's effort based or what, I just don't think he is worth making a top 5 tight end. And it puts you in a tricky spot roster wise because you haven't addressed tight end, and that's a failure of previous years. But you don't necessarily remedy that by making Dallas Goedert the third highest paid tight end in the league. So I agree with you. I think his touchdown production is going to get him paid more than the Eagles are willing to pay him. So I think he is probably gone next year.
Yep, I agree. And for what it's worth, I don't take PFF stats with a grain of salt, if you will. But I think in terms of like run blocking for tight ends, unless you're out there grinding every run blocking snap of every tight end in the league, you have to have a little bit of a reliance on them. He ranked 113th out of all tight ends at the position. Now, to be fair, that is not a minimum percentage of snaps, which I should have filtered. If I filtered to a minimum percentage of 20% of the snaps, he ranked 78th. 78 ranks amongst guys like Tyler Warren, who are not proper traditional tight ends, if you will. Harold Fanning is around there. Grant Calcaterra is around there, by the way. And if you go through Dallas Goedert's career, first 4 years in the league based on PFF, he averaged like a blocking grade of 75, 78, 81. This year was 50, which was his lowest ever. His previous lowest was 57 last year. And he also run blocked pretty much the same, but a little bit less maybe a few years ago, but he didn't like dramatically go down. The numbers just don't look good. And the film didn't look good either. So we can't spend too long on one player because we've already done that. But I'm going to say go, personally. And I think we're not going to track what we do ourselves, but I think I'd let him walk. I think I'd be brave. It might be brave and it might be a disaster. But I think maybe this offense is too stagnant and they've got to take a few risks. And I think that might be an area that I look to save.
Yeah.
Because so I think you'll get a lot of money elsewhere, by the way.
Yeah, I'm with you. So Goddard probably gone. Yeah, we've got people talking about the dead cap hit he's going to have because that is the thing. Any void years on the contract are going to accelerate if he's gone, and you're going to have to eat that. And so there's a possibility, that plays in and will lead to them keeping him. It feels really stupid doing this show, and we've got Jimbo, who we should have just had on, and he could have been like, "Yeah, this is exactly how it all works out." But
that's the Patreon special only.
Yeah.
See, the Patreon guys, they get Jimbo.
Yeah. So let's move on to Reed Blankenship. Reed Blankenship is almost 27 years old, coming off of a contract at $3.5 million. Spot Track shows $7.2 million is his market value. Eric has him at $10 million. So obviously you have Andrew Makuba, who they drafted, and you have Sidney Brown. Both Reed Blankenship and Marcus Epps are pending free agents. So on the Reed Blankenship front, $10 million, if we use Eric's number, that would put him about the 21st highest paid safety in terms of average annual value. So what are your thoughts on Reed Blankenship coming back? Stay or go?
Yeah, so worst year last year, but I think he's had in a while. Don't think he played as well, personally. There was a couple of busts in there at times, but I think he understands the system extremely well. I think that Fangio's system is all about connections. I think playing next to a rookie safety who was a bit rash at times probably didn't help him. And I don't think he's going to appeal to every team. So I don't think he's going to get as much money because I don't think teams are going to see him as a superstar. To me, he's the kind of guy that goes under the radar in free agency when maybe he's better than he sort of gets paid. So even looking at like 10 million a year, which Eric has, that isn't that high. It's relatively high, but it's not that high. I think somewhere between 7 and 10 is fair for his market value. I think he'll stay, and I think I'd keep him. I think I'd do the same. I think Fangio's going to push for him to stay. I think Fangio's going to want him to stay, and I think they spend enough money on the offense. And I think it makes sense to keep him. That's personal preference. I think Fangio will win out on him. I don't think his market will be maybe what he hopes.
Yeah, I don't think I would want to pay Reed 10 million a year. I think that's a little high. Um, I've always said that I think he is a perfectly fine starting safety. He's not going to wow you. He's generally not going to have like busts and things, but 10 million is a little high for me. I think I don't know that his number is going to be that high either though. That one feels a little high to me. I'm more in line with like the spot track, $7-8 million average annual value, and obviously you get to splitting hairs there with Howie. That like, what's the difference in an $8 million contract and a $10 million contract? It's not much with the way he's going to work the numbers. So I think they would like to bring Reed Blankenship back to pair with Makuba, especially because the alternative is Sidney Brown or someone not on the roster. I would bring him. I would try to bring him back in that $8 million ballpark, and I do think the Eagles will bring him back.
Yeah, we are in agreement then.
All right.
Yeah, carry on. Let's rock.
Okay, so the next one is Jalen Phillips. He is about to turn 27 years old. Make $3.5 million average annual value on his last contract. Spot Track has him at 17 million. Eric has him at 21 million. 21 million. If we use Eric's number, would be the 15th highest paid edge rusher in the NFL. Nope, sorry, that's not correct. 21 million. I'm mixing my numbers up. 21 million would be the 15th highest paid edge rusher. Also notably would be 2 million more than Josh Sweat signed in free agency.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Last offseason.
I
like Jalen Phillips.
Yeah, me too. I really like him, but I don't know how good he is.
I'm not paying Jalen Phillips $21 million a year.
Yeah, I think it's so tough because I think he's a really good fit for what the Eagles do. And I think actually he was better as a run defender than I expected. I think he's a decent pass rusher. I think he's a good run defender. But I'm like, is he good enough to spend that money on? But edge, again, is hard, and he's better than the others they've got there at the moment as things stand. So you're losing your best edge rusher. And again, I think Fangio's going to push for him. Unlike Reed Blankenship, though, I think that someone else is going to pay him a lot because I think they're going to see potential, and his health was good last year as well. So I think he'll go, but there is a part of me that would really, really hope they can do something to keep him around.
Yeah, I would love, and again, the Eagles are never going to sign someone and me be like, ooh, that's kind of a steep contract, because I just trust Howie with the numbers. So I would be happy if they sign him because he's a good player. I think he's probably gone, though. I think he'll walk. And I think there was an element of them baking that decision-making in when they traded a third-round pick for him.
Yeah, I'm so 50-50. Like, I really am. I think I'm being too harsh on him. I think he's a better player than I'm saying in this, to be honest. I think he's a better player. I think the Eagles will miss him, and I think Fangio will do a lot to try and keep him around. I think Nolan Smith was sort of underrated, really not very good when he came back. And there's serious question marks once again as him as a pass rusher. But the worry is, as Jacko commented, like, can you do him, Carter? Is there just, like, at some point too many to pay at the same time? I don't know. I'm so 50-50. I'm going to say go because I think someone's going to pay him because I think he is a very good player.
Yeah. Pay Jordan Davis over Jalen Phillips. Right? That's
over
Jaden
Phillips or Jaden Carter?
Over Jalen Phillips.
Right. Yeah, I would probably pay JD as well.
Like, I mean, they're paying Jalen Carter. Like, I think in a lot of ways you could look at, do you pay Jalen Phillips or do you let him go and then you can afford to pay Jordan Davis?
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? It's tough. I also just think like Fangio is going to be a little bit like, what are we gonna do on defense? You're spending all this money on offense, and they suck, and we're better than you. At what point to keep elite offensive coaches, do you have to like do things to make them happy? Defensive coaches, I should say. Like, at what point you can't just be the most expensive offense and a cheap defense every year?
I think
maybe you save some money elsewhere. Who knows?
You tell Vic we've spent every first and second round pick since you got here on defense, so that's why the offense is more expensive.
And yeah, Brother Clip's commenting, we get a comp pick, right? And yes, we do. That's why it was always a great trade. Because, as Shane said, Howie gets this stuff.
Yeah. Okay, now we're going to start rolling into some of the guys that are less discussion. Aziz Ojulari about to be
to be honest,
26
I was
years.
rushing through those three thinking we got like 16, but actually there's only really a few that are very interesting, aren't they? So
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad thing. Just really quickly, I thought this might interest you before we move on. Again, take PFF's numbers for what you will, honestly. But I thought it was interesting that if you look at edge rushers last year, and this genuinely surprised me, I looked this up before the show, in terms of win percentage as a pass rusher, obviously you got Will Anderson, Myles Garrett, Aiden Hutchinson, Micah Parsons. Jaden Phillips was eighth in terms of pass rush win percentage, and that didn't tell me what the film always showed me, in all honesty. But he's around some good players. Now, before everyone takes these numbers for a grain of salt, 10th is Josh Uche, who couldn't get on the field. So it doesn't mean they're good, but he's a decent, or I think Jaden Phillips is a much better run defender as well. And if you look at pass rush productivity, which is another thing they do, again, Will Anderson 1, Parsons 3, Benito 3, Garrett. So we know that it does pick the best players higher up. He's also 13th in that. So I guess that's also relatively good around some very good players. So he's going to get paid is sort of my point. I think he's maybe better than what I gave him credit for at the start.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, I think he's a good player. I just don't know that he's going to get paid that much by the Eagles. But maybe Howie will surprise us on that one. Okay, Aziz Ojulari, about to be 26 years old, made $3 million. He's a free agent. We didn't really see him play a whole lot.
Bye-bye.
I'd say he's probably gone. Jahan Dotson, going to be 26 years old, $2.75 million. Feels like he's pretty well gone too, right?
I would pay him to leave. I got so fed up with Dotson. I used to get killed on BGN for being too negative. He infuriated me so much last year. No, let him go elsewhere. Let someone else prove that he's not very good. And then we'll see what happens. But he's not staying around here. He's possibly the least appealing profile that I would want for the wide receiver 3 next year, especially if AJ Brown goes. I do not want him as the receiver 2 opposite Devontae. I think that's very lightweight. So, goodbye. No interest.
Yeah, I think there's also something to be said for the fact that in the playoff game, Darius Cooper ate into his snaps significantly.
I think there is definitely.
Also, that's like the most Eagles coaching staff ever to be like, hey, let's go into the playoffs and let's give a UDFA rookie 21 snaps all of a sudden in the playoffs. But anyways, I digress.
And he can block, Darius Cooper. He can block. Jahan Dotson wasn't just doing nothing in the receiving game. He cannot block in the slightest. I mean, if they're not going to bring him back, why the hell would he bring back anyway? I think that's about the obvious one of them all.
Yeah. All right. Up next, we've got Brandon Graham. I mean, they're not bringing Brandon Graham back, right?
Are they not? Are you sure?
You sure they're not? They paid Brandon Graham $2.4 million this year to play 120 snaps. So if you're going to play Brandon Graham less than 10 snaps a game, how about we just give those snaps to a young guy? I love Brandon Graham, but if all we can put you on the field for...
This is proof Shane hates the Eagles, by the way.
Like 7 snaps against the Raiders, 9 snaps against Washington, 7 against Buffalo, 7 in the playoffs. I'm not paying $2.5 million for 7 snaps a game. If that's all he can be out there, then go be a defensive line assistant coach, and you can hang out with the team.
Can't they give him a stupidly low offer? I don't know. I'm not as anti you. I don't know. Like, he didn't really do a great deal, but he looked fine to me when he played. And locker room, whatever, culture, I think it does matter having players around like that. Granted, I want him cheaper.
Make him an assistant defensive line coach. He can hang out at practice. He can show the young pups how to rush.
He wants to keep playing.
He doesn't want to keep playing, or he wouldn't have retired. He decided he wanted to come back.
He said he was quite enjoying being back. Maybe I'm making things up. All right, he's obviously... I'm guessing he's not going to be back, but I wouldn't be that stunned if he ends up deciding to come back. But but maybe I'm wrong. I'm googling his name, and maybe not. He's not said. I'm sure I saw something that was quite positive about him wanting to return. Listen. I'm a sucker for like culture and guys like that. Like Brandon Graham wants to come back. Yeah, let's bring him back. What's the worst that can happen? There you go. Brett Eclipse. He's better than Byron Young. I agree. Yes, he probably should stick to podcasting, though. Yakko is it's a very fair point. Yeah. But you'll never hear me say anything bad about BG on this. Because unlike Shane, I like the Philadelphia Eagles. And don't just tweet negative things all the time because he hates them. That's the problem with my podcast co-host, sadly. Doesn't even like Brandon Graham. Doesn't like Super Bowl winning head coach Nick Sirianni.
Love Brandon Graham. Have his jersey. I only buy jerseys of retired players, by the way, and I bought his jersey and then he came back.
Yeah, there you go. I have a BG jersey as well.
Okay, Braden Mann will be 28 years old, $2.1 million.
Punter analysis.
Yes. Per the punt runts on Twitter, which is the punt analytics people, they rated punter EPA per punt above expected, and he was like just below average, which actually surprises me.
On ESPN, there's punter EPA.
Yeah. It actually surprises me that he was just below average because
I thought he was quite good. Yeah. Based on I never watch punts. If I can, I skip them when it's 0-22. Next play, please. Yeah. I say bring him back, because he didn't look bad to me, and that's my level of analysis of punters. Are they bad? No. Keep him around.
Yeah, I am with you. I say that he comes back. And I'm gonna tweet at the punt runts and ask them what's their deal with Braden Mann. So
yeah, the thing about being a punt Twitter, right, is let's be real. I could start a punting Twitter account. No one would know if I'm any good, but they'd see he's a punting specialist Twitter account, and they'd be like, well, he's obviously good, because no one starts a random punting Twitter account if they're not. Few thousand followers. I could tweet what I want. I could make up punter EPA. I would definitely be believed by many people. I could quite easily be like Braden Mann's punt EPA average ranks, and nobody would ever be able to challenge me. And you can't tell me that it's not true.
Yeah, probably so. Okay, so we're both bringing back Braden Mann. Joshua Uche, 1.9 million average annual value, 27 years old. I don't know. He couldn't play this year, so I'm going to guess he's gone.
Well, he's gone, but every time he played, he looked good. I don't know. Fangio just wasn't a big Uche guy. His numbers are genuinely hilarious this year. Like, he had 100. Like, they're strong. It's very strange. It's really weird. Like 23 pressures and 140 pass rushes. Like 21 hurries, a hit, a sack. Like the pass rush productivity is good. Like you'd think he was like one of the great off-season signings, and he was not. PFF have his overall defense number is 85.1. It's like one of the best edges in the league. But Fangio, not a fan. So yeah, he's gone, obviously. When you play that little towards the end and you're not even active in playoff games and stuff, you're gone.
Yeah. Okay, Adoree Jackson, going to be 30 years old. $1.7 million was his contract this year. I feel like Adoree Jackson's going to be back. I feel like he is not going to command a lot on the market. I feel like he got comfortable in Vic's system, and they can continue to protect him in the same ways that they were last year. So I think he'll be back on a roughly similar-ish deal.
I agree. I think he played well down the stretch. I think we sort of ignore how well he played, really. And I think considering how much everyone was talking about the cornerback too, the last like 5 weeks of the season, how much was anyone talking about Adoree Jackson? So if you can get him on a really cheap deal, you know my Fangio philosophy is always guys that know the system as well. So knows the system. Is he worth having as a quarterback 4 next year in case your CB2 is a rookie and he sucks out the gate or he gets injured early on? Absolutely. So, I think it makes a lot of sense to bring him back because he's obviously not going to command a lot of money at all. So I'm all on board.
All right. So we keep it rolling here. Kylan Granson. I don't feel like we even need to talk about him. He's gone, right?
Oh my God. All right. Can we never... Should we make a pact that after today's episode, we never talk about the Eagles tight end room from this year ever again? Is it the worst position? And I blame Howie a lot. Who the hell decided that Grant Calcaterra was a run blocker and Kylan Granson was going to be like this fullback hybrid guy? Did anyone ever watch Kylan Granson play? Like, I have no idea how they built their tight end room. Like, it was genuinely bemusing what they decided to do. Yeah, please leave. Goodbye. And I'm so sorry that you signed for us because we made you look terrible because of how bad we utilized you. Like, I'm sorry, I've just got to read this out. I mean, this is like, I'm looking at Kylan Granson's career, right? For his career, he's always got more pass blocking, more pass routes than he does run blocking reps. Obviously, because it's Kylan freaking Granson if you watched him. So like 2 years ago with the Colts, when he actually had like a reasonably good year, 306 routes run, 170 run blocking snaps. This year with the Eagles, he ran 93 routes and had 143 run blocking snaps. And he had more pass blocking snaps than he's ever had in his career before as well. Oh my goodness, the Eagles tight end room, Shane. We might need to like ban talking about it ever again. You couldn't run a worse operation if you tried. Who watched that guy and said, yes, let's have him run block at a significantly higher rate than he's ever done in his career before? That's, oh my goodness. Yeah.
Jonny hates the Eagles, confirmed. Moving on.
Oh, I hate the tight end and the usage. Honestly, Granson, Calcaterra, and I'm going to like have flashbacks. I'm going to have PTSD in like 5 years, remembering that tight end room. Yeah.
All right,
Bad.
Matt Pryor. Going to be 31 years old. $1.3 million was his contract this year. What's your feeling about Matt Pryor returning?
Probably go, but if he signs on a stupidly cheap deal, like, is he worth having around? I'm guessing he's going to go, but some of it might be tied to what they do with like Jurgens and Dickerson and that. You might want to have like a stable body around. But oh man, Matt Pryor. Been around a bit, hasn't he, old Pryor?
Yes.
Does he just decide to settle down and stay in Philly? I'm guessing he still wants to play. I think I might keep him around, But I'm guessing that because he played a lot last year for Chicago, maybe someone will give him something slightly better. Maybe. I really don't know. What do you think? I think he'll go.
Yeah, you start looking at the backup O-line, like, you have Drew Kendall and Willie Lampkin. You imagine they're going to be investing into the offensive line in the draft, given Dickerson, Jurgens, Lane's situations. So we're going to talk Matt Pryor. We're going to talk Fred Johnson and Brett Toth. All are free agents. I don't think you're keeping all of those guys because I think you're spending draft capital there.
Should we just do them all in one?
Yeah,
I think if I had to rank them, I'd put Fred Johnson 1, Brett Toth 2, Matt Pryor 3.
So Fred Johnson,
how bad Jurgens was, and I think Toth could actually play. And I like Fred Johnson so much as a backup tackle that I want to keep him around.
So Eric's market value for Fred Johnson is $6 million. Are you keeping him at that?
Goodbye. Enjoy it.
Yeah, me too.
Enjoy whatever team pays $6 million to you, but surely they're not going to. I know Eric's numbers are good. They were very good last year, so he's definitely going to get $6 million now. But surely that's the end for Fred Johnson getting starter.
For what it's worth, Spot Track has it at 1.5 million, and I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yes, I would as well. I think Fred Johnson will be one. I think they'll definitely keep Fred Johnson around. I think they'll maybe keep one of Toth or Pryor, and I would go Toth because I think he's better at center. And
that's where I'm at.
Cam Jurgens last year.
That's where I'm at. I think Pryor's gone. I think Toth stays, and I think Fred Johnson. It just depends on what his market value is, but I think they'd like to keep him.
Yep, I would agree with that. I think we're on the same boat.
Okay, AJ Dillon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Poor AJ Dillon, man. That guy got cooked by the end of it. Whatever Will Shipley did to be better than him, I don't know. But yeah, goodbye.
Yeah. Nakobe Dean.
Oh, you said you're in order. This is a terrible order. This should have been like the first one we discussed.
Well, it's in order by what they made last year. Their
Oh,
average
they made
annual,
last year.
or the average
Wow.
annual value of their previous contract. So Nakobe Dean's coming off his rookie deal. His average annual value is 1.3 million.
Wow.
25 years old. Spot Track has it at a $8 million
Needs
contract.
to get him more.
Eric has it at 12, which I think is probably closer to right. Shoot, I had pulled up the linebacker tab so I could tell you where that ranks among linebackers. Hold on, 12
Well,
million.
while you're looking it up, I think he has to go, Shane.
That would be the 8th highest paid
I
linebacker,
think he
by
has
the way.
to go. Like, I don't think it's hard, but you basically have a defensive style that only ever plays two linebackers. Your base is an extra defensive lineman, not really an extra linebacker. So it's not even like if they go base, they go 4-3. And you can't draft someone in the first round who showed talent and then re-sign another linebacker. The Eagles don't prioritize that position. You've already paid Zach Ball. I know Campbell wasn't amazing towards the end when he got some snaps, but I think overall he had a pretty good rookie season. And I think he was benched more to do with Nakobe Dean coming back than Campbell's a real problem. And I think Trotter's like a good linebacker, and they went straight to Campbell. They didn't even give Trotter a week. Campbell played immediately, which tells me that Fangio instantly liked him enough. I think he got worse when he played limited snaps, but I think that's a different vibe for a linebacker. Just to come in and play. Like, I think they've got to hand him the keys now, and I think the Kobe's going to go.
I also just think, man, I think Campbell's going to be really good. I really think Jahad Campbell is going to be a very good linebacker.
Yeah.
But to your point, if they knew Nakobe Dean was going to come off of his injury, and because, I mean, last year, let us not forget, there was talk about, like, this could be career altering for Nakobe Dean. This is a hard injury to come off of. And so there was legitimate wondering, like, is Nakobe Dean going to be able to come back and play football at a starting caliber level?
Yeah.
I think if the Eagles knew a year ago what they know now about what Dean would come back and be able to do, they wouldn't have drafted Jahad Campbell.
Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Because
But-
I also say a tiny hot take that Dean struggled quite a bit down the stretch.
In coverage, yes.
Yeah, he had. I don't think he played as well against the runners. People think either. I think he's obviously like an unbelievably good pass rushing linebacker, like freakishly good. Off the top of your head, Shane, how many pass rush snaps do you think Nakobe Dean had last year?
What week did he come back from injury?
Week 7.
Week 7. So he played, 10 games in the regular season?
He played about 10 games total, but didn't play a lot of snaps in the Washington one.
Okay. I would say he had 72.
35.
Okay.
And that's my point. As good as he was at pass rushing, and don't get me wrong, his numbers are off the charts. Like 12 pressures in 35 pass rushes for an off-ball linebacker. But Fangio doesn't want to blitz that often. I know he sends sim pressure, but he doesn't send it that much. He didn't send the Kobe Dean at such a high rate. You were like, wow, he's like, that's how they're going to use him. They didn't really. And if you look at his pass rush numbers in the playoff game, they were 5. Like in some of the big games, they were 6 maximum. Some games they were as low as 3. It wasn't like he's constantly doing it. I don't think you re-sign him for those 4 or 5 snaps. But into context, Zach Bourne basically had the same. Zach Bourne rushed a quarterback more in the playoff game. He had a couple of games, Zach Bourne, where he rushed a QB like over 7 times. So they weren't using the Kobe Dean as a pass rusher like that much, if you get what I mean. So yeah, I feel like it doesn't make sense for what they want to do.
Yeah. So I think I love Nakobe Dean. I hope he excels wherever he goes, but I think he played himself out of the Eagles' price range, especially when you take into account what they drafted last year. And again, I think Jahad Campbell's going to be really good. I think Jahad Campbell would have been Rookie of the Year this year if he had played the whole season. So I think he is going to be a really impressive linebacker in year 2, 3, and 4. So
yeah, and good on the Kobe Dean for coming back when that injury seemed like it could be the end. Yeah, and I think Brad Eclipse is right. Ben Johnson did pick on him. I think, yeah, I think you have to take the guy you drafted in the first round. Like, you just have to at some point.
Yep. Okay. Okoronkwo, any interest in talking about him? He's going to be
No.
31 years old. He's
Yeah.
gone.
You're
Marcus
right.
Epps, 30 years old, $1.1 million. I think they're going to bring him back on
I think
a
they
deal.
should bring him back because you're going to get nothing elsewhere. And then you've got, obviously, Makuba, maybe it. And do you know what? If Blankenship does get priced out, I'm not saying that I would start Epps next year. That's not what I would do. He definitely should not be starting for a Super Bowl caliber team. But at least you've got him there. You know, if something goes horribly wrong with the guy you bring in, well, let's just go it back to Epps. Like, it's something that's doable.
Yeah, agree. So we both have Epps staying. We already talked Toth. Ben Van Sumeren, officially listed as a fullback by Spot Track despite not playing a snap of fullback this year. I feel so bad for him. Like, practice squad player, special teamer, carves out a role as a fullback, and then gets the offseason to get ready and gets hurt on the opening kickoff. 26 years old. He's going to make a minimum salary. Why not?
Yeah. What's could do worse.
You could play Kylan Granson at fullback.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry, last time. No more tight end talk.
Yeah, we're not as banished. That's it.
All right, so that brings us to Grant Calcaterra. 27 years old, made less than $1 million per year on his previous contract. This
Are
one's.
they going to do it?
I think they are, because
Do it, aren't they?
especially if Goddard leaves, they're going to bring Grant Calcaterra back.
They're
They
so
played him
gonna do
too
it.
much to not bring him back at what's going to be a really low deal. And the sad thing is with Grant Calcaterra, like, I legitimately think there's a way to use him where he could be a decent tight end. It's just using him more as a slot split out type receiver. And are the Eagles going to bring him back as the number one tight end and put him in line and ask him to run block all the time? Maybe. But
Yeah.
I think, given the state of their tight end room and the fact no one is under contract, I think they're going to bring Calcaterra back. And I don't hate it. I just hate the way they used him this year. If they use him differently, I can be okay with it.
I'm sort of okay with it, but I am not going to bore everyone with my tight end takes, but I have decided that my tight end position is changing dramatically. And I've gone from, like, I was always like, Carl Pitts, bring me Carl Pitts as a draft. Like, the tight end move, that was my thing. And now I'm actually like, nah, I want tight ends that can block first and foremost, and I'm going to worry about receiving afterwards, so I wouldn't bring him back. I've changed the way that I think about the position the last couple of years. So I would say no, because yes, he's got receiving talent, but I don't care. If you can't win in line, you can't do a job in the run game, I don't want you around.
That's been my thing with tight ends for years, is if you can't block in line, if you can't line up in line and block, then you're just a bigger, slower wide receiver. And that's kind of what Calcaterra is. There's some matchup things that play into it, but I do think they're going to bring him back.
Again,
and I don't hate it, especially if he's like the only tight end on the roster that's retained and you've got to make some other moves and you bring him back on a minimum deal to be tight end 2 or 3. But you've got to be an 11 personnel team if you're bringing Calcaterra back as tight end 2.
And I said I wouldn't bore everyone, but long story short, I think teams basically are playing more nickel against base personnel these days. So you don't. It's not as easy as just like, oh, we'll go 12 personnel and get him in base and then split the tight end that wide and hooray, it's a linebacker on a tight end and Carl Pitts runs free. It doesn't really work like that much anymore because teams are too smart, so they're living in nickel. So if you keep Grant Calcaterra and then you split him out wide and he's on a cornerback or a safety, you lose sort of all of your impetus anyway. So tight ends have to be able to block first and foremost.
All right, and then actually there's one other guy I just skipped to Grant Calcaterra because it just seemed like a great time to talk about him. Sam Howell, QB3, 25 years old, made $1 million a year. Are the Eagles bringing back Sam Howell?
I don't have a clue. Are they? No, they're not. He'll maybe sign as a QB2 somewhere. Will he? Will Sam Howell sign as a QB2? He might hang around, mightn't he?
Yeah. Think the Eagles traded like a 6th round pick for him or something
maybe
like
he'll
that.
stay. Maybe he'll stay.
I kind of think they will keep him just because they like their QBs and they traded for him this year. So I don't think Tanner McKee is going to go anywhere, but you got to have a QB3, and they probably at least sign Sam Howell, and they maybe draft somebody that battles it out with him for QB3, but I think Sam Howell probably stays.
Yep, me too.
So, all right, so that puts us, we have the same stays. Reed Blankenship, Braden Mann, Adoree Jackson, Fred Johnson, Marcus Epps, Brett Toth, Ben Van Sumeren, Sam Howell, and Grant Calcaterra.
Oh, no. Did I have Calcaterra stay? Oh, I guess I think they might keep him, yeah.
So, all right. That's it. That's our free agency exercise. Not the most exciting free agency, but there are some interesting decisions for the Eagles, especially at the top of the roster, especially with Jalen Phillips, Dallas Goedert, and then the tight end situation as a whole. It's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out. Who becomes available that they have their eyes on, and just how that all unfolds. That's something that I'm really interested to see once contracts start getting announced and things in the next month or so.
Yeah, we've got to the stage, haven't we, where it's just like refresh Twitter consistently. I'm waiting. I think we're going to hear it soon because hires are getting done now. So I feel like it's going to happen sooner rather than later. Yeah, good point from Adam, actually. We'd even talk about it. If they trade McKee, could Sam Howell be the two? I mean, I guess, but they're not, in my opinion, trading McKee. So I don't think that's likely. But yeah, good point, actually. What do you think overall about the free agents? Like, as in, I feel like there's not a huge amount of money to be spent. I feel like Goddard, obviously, I'm assuming Dean's going to go. I think Phillips is the really big one to watch. Phillips is the big one that's going to cost money. The rest of them, I think they haven't got to worry too much about expenditure overall. It's not like previous years we've seen. Like, look at last year. We were talking guys like Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, Derry. There was like big money everywhere. This year, I don't think it's like that.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, the Eagles are projected to have $10 million in cap space for 2026, which ranks just below average. They're 18th. So they're not in dire straits like some teams. The Chiefs are $55 million over the cap. The Saints $41 million over the cap. The Vikings $37 million over the cap. The Cowboys $32 million over the cap. So the Eagles are not in bad shape, but they do not have a ton of money to go spend in free agency.
Yep. I think overall I think Jalen Phillips ranks like 5th on NFL's free agent, NFL.com, Greg Rosenfeld. I think that it like free agency players overall, and Blankenship was like 30th. So there's never that many good players to go and buy. So if you've got good players in your roster that you want to keep, do your best to keep them. The more I think about it, the more I may be going towards Jalen Phillips staying, just because I think Fangio will be desperate. But maybe like it'll be Blankenship. If Blankenship goes, maybe they'll be like, right, let's overpay for Phillips. Let's overpay for the pass rusher. I do think like a lot of the time when you've got good players like there, try your best to keep them, but it's not always easy. And Milton Williams going to the Super Bowl. Good old Milton. Always
all he does is go to Super Bowls.
Yeah, man, hell of a player, and he is genuinely. Right, I think that's it for free agency, Shane.
That's it. Last question. You can keep Dallas Goedert and Reed Blankenship, or you can keep Jalen Phillips. Who do you keep?
Jalen Phillips.
Yeah,
Jalen Phillips. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, and I like Blankenship, but you can replace him a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah, agreed. So, all right. Well, that is going to about wrap it up for this episode. Again, if you missed us on the airwaves last week, we recorded a Patreon mailbag. That is the missing episode. I think it's 132 of the show. It was a Patreon show where we were doing questions. 133. We answered all kinds of questions about the Eagles, other random stuff. So if you guys want to check that out, you can come check out our Patreon. The $3 a month tier gets you access to those bonus episodes and things. We've also got higher tiers with lots of different stuff. I've done some film reviews from the playoffs, talking about things that I've seen from other playoff teams that the Eagles could easily incorporate that would fit them. Jonny's done offensive coordinator stuff. We have Philly Wannabe GM is diving into draft stuff. So there's going to be a lot of content coming your way. There will always be free shows here on the podcast network, but there'll be kind of on a roughly every other week sort of cycle for this first part of the off season. So come hang out with us on Patreon at patreon.com/Eagles Film Room if that interests you. Jonny, anything else you want to throw out there? Any final thoughts before we call it a day?
No, I've been very quiet. I messaged BLG yesterday, like, haven't written for a while. I'm just waiting for the OC stuff. So I'm just like waiting. I feel like I'm on the edge. The content is coming. I'm just awaiting someone to be hired, and then I can really dig in. Because like you, I'm at the stage where I'm like, I can't look at more candidates until they hire someone. So let's just wait for it to happen.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully some things happen, and we do have some definitives to start talking about soon. But until then, we will continue speculating wildly about all of the rumors that are flying around. So come hang out with us and do that. 5-star ratings and reviews on the podcast feed is greatly appreciated. Again, patreon.com/Eagles Film Room. Can grab a free 1-week trial of any of our tiers and check out any of that stuff. Thanks to everybody in the comments that is chatting here during the show.
Yes,
we appreciate you guys, and we will catch you next time on another episode. Go Birds.